All right, we're locked and loaded, and
Locked
I'm
and
joined
loaded.
with Rabbi Vilhelm. Wilhelm.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
I'm
An absolute
actually
pleasure.
really excited to talk to you about Judaism, obviously. So this is a religion that I don't actually have that much background in. As I was saying before, I have a great-granddad who was a rabbi, and then I believe that rabbis have to marry into the Jewish faith.
Probably, yes.
So there's this Jewish line of descent somewhere in my family tree, and I know nothing about Judaism. Well, very little, let's say that. So what I do know, what I have studied, is Kabbalah. So sort of, I guess that would be called mystical Judaism.
Yeah, the mystical part of Judaism, correct.
And it has a really interesting cosmology, a very interesting worldview. And I'm curious if you could describe that from your own perspective.
Right. So obviously, there's different ways to go about this. I can just go straight to it.
Yeah.
Or I can give, the sort of the how where it comes from, how the historical background, etc.
Let's go straight into it. Let's go deep. So give it to me straight. What's the Kabbalistic worldview?
Kabbalistic worldview is an inside-out worldview. So instead of seeing the world from outside in, you see it from inside out.
What does that mean?
So in other words, there's a world in front of me.
Right.
Right? There's plants, there's great people, whatever, this is the world you live in.
Right.
And then, and that's one reality that we see. And that's obviously, that's what we're given to see. And then we know there's spirituality. We know there's something inside, there's something deeper, right? And anybody who lives life at some point, whether it's religion or not religion, they're going to turn deeper. They're going to go inside. Yeah. So the way I see it is, and the way I try and practice it is to start from the inside and to go to the outside, which means is a tree's not a tree.
Interesting.
The world is not the world. There's something much deeper going on, an expectation, which I'm going to use the word God, but ultimately, God to me means an expectation to live a better life, a deeper life. Okay,
something beyond,
exactly. And when you have that, so like the classic example, I when I teach this to students on a very basic level. Okay, I take my wife's diamond ring, I put it into a pot of dirt, and I go around the class and I say, "What do you see?" And everybody says, "What do you see?" I see dirt, and then I dump the pot and the ring drops on. I'm like, now what do you see? Oh, I see a diamond ring full of dirt. Very different. So the question is the world a good place or a screwed up place? Is the world inherently a garden, a beautiful place, or a messed up place?
Dirt or diamonds?
Simple question.
Yeah.
And Kabbalah, the way Judaism looks at it in its deepest sense, it's a garden. It's God's garden. It's a garden. It's a beautiful place. It's full of light. It's an amazing place. Now, let's try and make sense of the dirt. Okay. There's a lot of dirt to make sense of, correct.
And when you say dirt in this context, it's a metaphor for the shit of life.
Correct. It can mean anything. It can mean in your personal negative experiences. It can mean in Judaism, we always turn to the Holocaust. I mean, really tragic. There's no messed up world. The world as in people dying, whatever it is, it can go from anything, from cosmic level to a personal level.
Tragedy, inequality, all of it.
All of it, right? Everything we see. And the question is, so is the world, so look, we live life, and sometimes, let's be honest, we like this world is screwed up, top to bottom, correct?
Totally. If we're being honest, we have to recognize that.
Exactly. From an outside-in perspective, absolutely, and then we can keep trying to dig. From an inside-out perspective, at the core, everything's beautiful. Everything's perfect. We're just experiencing the outside because we're humans and we need to experience the outside for very specific reasons.
When you say at the core, everything is beautiful, everything is perfect, does that mean we have to dig to find that perfect, beautiful core, even in something like you said, like the Holocaust or like tragedies? Can you find that beauty in it? Or is it sort of more of a recognition in, oh, this too has a place. This too, in a sense, is a part of the perfect flow of creation. So what do you mean when you say that?
Okay, so I shouldn't have used the Holocaust as a perfect example. Because it's an extreme example. Yeah. Exactly.
Let's say I get
and
broken
then everybody
up.
always likes to look at the extreme, and so let's just look
it's a potent example.
Right. But let's just talk about the average tragedy.
My girlfriend cheats on me.
Exactly. Something exactly, you know what I mean? Or yeah, exactly. Breakup, you know, or I'm depressed, I'm down, I'm feeling negative. Just emotions we deal with. So there's 2 steps. Okay. The ultimate step, somebody who can really live and go straight to the core, right, knows that underneath this whole thing is there as a gift, everything. And I know it's hard, you see, because you have to have empathy, right? So I'm a rabbi. People come to me all the time with their problems, right? People think like, what do you do all day? I mean, I listen to people's problems all day. Wow. You know,
it's a beautiful job. I'm a therapist. Exactly. I do something similar.
There we go. I'm exactly a therapist.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So I'm listening to people. So obviously, if I come to a person, someone like, you know, someone said, someone cheated on me, someone hurt me, whatever it is, I'm not going to go right away. Okay, you know, let's go straight to it. Right. No, empathy. Right? You have to live we live in a real world. We live in an outside-in world. You can't expect everybody to go straight there. So that's why it's step 1, step 2. Step 1 is in a practical level is you got to live with the realities of the situation, of whatever emotions, the struggle you're dealing with. Yeah. If someone dying, of course, it's painful.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? So sure. With this outside in, inside out perspective, where my mind goes, having studied Buddhism more than any other religious mystical tradition, it seems like where my mind goes is when we say inside out, seeing the world that we experience as what we could call a projection of mind, or sort of a conceptually constructed framework of mind, recognizing this is co-created, recognizing, and it's an expression of mind, of self, versus the outside in perspective from my lens would be that the world just comes to us. I don't have any agency in how I choose to relate to things and my interpretation of events, to my sense of self. Is that what you're pointing to, or is it different than
a little bit? Look, I believe in any spirituality there's going to be some kind of, you know, coexistence, you know, or a relationship. So Agreed. Of course, and Buddhism is, you know, the reason that Jews turn to Buddhism in general, right? In my opinion, is because they don't know Judaism, you know.
Interesting. Like Joseph Goldstein, Jack Kornfield, like that whole
but I mean, I'm talking about the small guy. You know, the average person you meet here in town is like, yeah, I'm a Boo Jew. It's like, yeah, right. How much you know about Judaism? Let's start with that. I know you're born Jewish. I know you like latkes and you know, all the Jewish foods and the culture. Great. But have you ever really studied Jewish mysticism?
Which is trippy also because I have a Jewish ancestry. You know what I mean? I was raised in a household with no formal religion. Like both my parents were MDs, and in medical school, they both stopped going to church. They're like, this doesn't fit. This doesn't resonate. But it's interesting that I do have that Jewish part, and then I found Buddhism, and it just innately hit. Yeah. So I'm curious, in your mind, what does Judaism provide? Can you compare and contrast the two? Or what does Judaism provide that gives, I guess, the soul?
So I don't know enough about Buddhism on a core level to answer that question.
Well, we can riff on it. So, so tell me from your perspective, what does Judaism provide?
So I would say, spiritual Kabbalistic Judaism, at the end of the day, with a whole inside-out perspective, what I see from really spiritual people, and I'm talking about like people who are able to live on that inside-out as much as possible.
And can you tell me what that means to you? The inside out.
Meaning is that they see everything as God's existence. They see everything as as a garden, everything in its purity, everything in its absolute truth. Yeah. So there's a very famous Hasidic Jew. So I'm a Hasidic Jew.
What does that mean?
Okay, so step 1. Yeah. Okay, so Judaism is Judaism, which means is the Torah is the book for all Jews. That came from Moses and God 3,300 years ago. That came down. Along with it, came down over the generations. Along with that was passed down through the generations as spiritual teachings of Judaism. So on a very basic level, there was, I don't know, I'm trying to think about a story everybody, your listeners would know. There's Moses, there's Pharaoh, a story in Egypt 3,300 years ago. Right. On a spiritual level, there's a Pharaoh still living. In your mind, okay. There's someone enslaving you. There's real. Wow. We're all in Egypt, okay. And so, and then there's a Moses. Every person is a little bit of a Moses. I mean, you have the ability to stand tall, and right. So we take these stories and we live them. We don't just. Yes. It's not history. Actually, there is no word for history in Judaism.
So that story exists as like an archetypal, imaginal expression,
Correct.
and like a microcosm of the self.
Correct.
Like maybe every man's need to break the chains of that pharaoh and find their own freedom.
Correct.
So what is this pharaoh that is binding humanity?
I think if we're all honest, we're all slaves all the time, which means is people are like, what's the famous, what's the, like in Rhode Island, I'm sorry. I know I sound American. I grew up in England, so my American history is pretty weak, but like I see it on the car license plate, like we die without freedom or something, or
live free or die.
Live free or die.
Right,
yeah. Right. What does even living free mean? Does living free mean I could do whatever I want? Right.
That's a great question.
So yeah, live free or die. But what is living free? Does living free mean
question.
Exactly? So let's say what a basic answer is. We're all slaves to something. We're all going to. You can be the freest person, whatever society calls free, but are you actually free? No, you're not free. You're a slave to a lot of things. Okay,
Totally.
So that's Pharaoh.
And like, so what are some of those things? Just to be like clear, I think like some of it is conditioning, a slave to my desires, a slave to my expectations,
To society, to what my it could be what your parents told you have to be,
Right.
what society told you have to be. It could be a slave to so many things. You could be a slave to your bank account. You could be a slave to your phone. You could be a slave to anything.
And in like new age spiritual circles, I think you can see people can be a slave to this idea of freedom.
Correct.
Where like, I have to be free, and thus I am now chained to this abstract idea of what freedom is,
Correct.
and thus not free.
Right. So I want to share. So there's a great story I'm going to explain in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Great story about a Hasidic Jew. I'm going to go back to the Hasidic Jew, what it is in a minute, and then we'll go back.
Yeah.
His name was Reb Mendel Futerfas, a very famous person. I got to see him, passed away in 95. And the reason he's so famous is because he was in Russia, went through Soviet. Russia was a religious Jew. And his kids passed away from just at the time, from health issues. And then he ended up going to Siberia and being a slave meaning in jail, right, for practicing Judaism.
Oh.
Okay, so he goes and he ends up in this terrible situation where you have to work in the winter, it's cold, etc. So anyway,
Siberia.
in Siberia.
Sounds
So
like
that's where they sent all the prisoners.
Yeah.
So he says this classic story, okay, how he comes in there and everybody, he wasn't a guy who worked out. He was just a Jew, a businessman. He was an accountant. He had kids. A city boy. All right. Versus these, unfortunately, the communists threw anybody into jail. They put a bunch of like physically strong people, right? And one by one, he saw all these people dying, and he was like, "I'm not I'm not a strong guy," and they're just. What's going on? They look much more physically fit, healthy. They lived a healthier life. And it took him a while, and he wrote and he said that what was their life? What was their freedom before? Being on a farm, enjoying life. Okay, it's Russia. You drink a little vodka. You come home at night, do your thing. Chill, enjoy. Right? Have a little borscht. You come home. Fine. The moment they walked through those gates, they were dead. Freedom died. That whatever it was, it died.
Interesting.
Right? He said, for me, what was my life before? Yeah, of course I was an accountant. Of course but my life, what was my life? My life was the inside out, right? I was one with something deeper. I was able to be grateful. I was able to be thankful. I was able to pray. No one could take those things away from me. So I never died. In other words, it's a mental thing, right?
Wow.
So speaking of freedom,
yeah.
I work with college kids. Do I have to, I don't know how many podcasters you've had and how much you've spoken about the mental health crisis, about the drug problem, right? You're a therapist.
Yep.
Why are people struggling? We have everything we need today in society. Yeah. We're freer than we've ever been in history. Okay.
Right.
There's no pharaohs.
Right.
We are all pharaohs. We're all in control. But we all have internal situations happening, correct?
We're all slaves to something.
So we got free from one thing. We came.
And that's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. What it makes me think of is in Eastern spirituality, these notions of non-duality, where there's no separation between freedom and not free. Because we make that in our minds. And it makes me think of the Buddhist monks in Vietnam that got locked up during the war. And the guards in these prisons would be pissed and like banging on the rails because they'd see these monks in deep bliss in these cells. You can't take the freedom, the joy, the peace away from them.
Never.
And that's the thing. That's where we can open it up in our minds. And for me, as a therapist and really starting to teach like predominantly Buddhism, but recognizing where are we, an emphasis on we, me personally, where are we creating that line between freedom and not freedom? Where to create a story which is like, if I'm in a cage, if I'm in Siberia, I'm not free. All of a sudden, I'm not in, the kingdom of God in, Christian terminology.
Yeah.
And recognizing that we created that. And what happens when we can start to dissolve that boundary? Where are we? And it makes me think, then we're in the inside out.
Correct.
And everything, and just hearing you say that, I get this like perception shift where everything is flavored in, how would I word it? Like divinity, peace, like luminosity.
Correct. And that's ultimately what, that takes so much work because we're not naturally, some people are, but most of us, are naturally wired to just see the outside in perspective.
And so can you speak to what that is?
So I have a son with autism, okay? He has autism. How am I going to take that away? Right. Outside in means he's always going to struggle with society. Of course, people will be nice to him. Thank God we live in a great world and a great society compared to previous generations. Right. But I can't take away his functions in my household, in his behaviors, in his own personal challenge. He's a big kid now. Outside in perspective, great. Inside out perspective is, what's the gift? Where's the gift? What's going on here, right? Where am I? Where's the light? Where's the garden? Where's the beauty? And of course, I can talk about this all day, but if I'm not going to study it, meditate it, practice it, like really, it's going to be hard. It is hard. I'm not trying to take away, but it's going to be impossible. So how could the hardest thing the hardest thing in life, I would say, as a rabbi, okay, is being around tragedy, being around, I won't even call it terrible tragedy. Let's not go extreme. Just kids struggling and emotionally and school and all, just watching it. It's painful. Yeah. What's the hardest part of that is that I know that if they would only see the world in a different way, it would be so much easier for them. Yeah. But how can I tell that to them on the spot? It's just to hug them, if I could just guide them through these teachings and guide them through this perspective. Of course, it will be hard, but how much easier would it be? Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard when you know something, right? And you can't. It isn't even a good way. You just have to let people figure it out.
Support, and it's like all these. The metaphor, the image I get is flowers blooming, and you can't force a flower to bloom at a faster speed. It blooms when it's ready, and when it opens, and everyone's on a different path, right? And hearing you say that, I can resonate completely with being a therapist. And I'm like, do I try to teach these people? Do I try to just support them? What do I do to actually help them on this path? Because I've found, especially teaching deep spiritual things, sometimes you can keep hammering a lesson onto people and it won't sink for months or years. And then all of a sudden something flips and it's like, why don't you just say that? And it's like, because the being isn't yet primed to hear it in the way that sinks. And it is tragic. It's like you're witnessing that. It's like a Shakespearean beautiful tragedy. It's like, if only you could just see in a certain light.
I heard once from somebody, so the holiest prayer in Judaism is in the Bible, it's Shema. I'm not going to go through the whole prayer now, but it's, if you've ever seen a mezuzah on the doorpost.
I don't know what it looks like, but I've heard the word.
If you walk into could be this one,
is it the Hebrew over the door?
No. So it's like, you can't actually see it. It's like a little, it could be any shape. It could be, whatever it is. It's like basically inside is a scroll, and it's on the door.
I have seen
it. On Jewish homes. In my home, I have it in every door. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the Shema's written in there before you pass away. If you have the ability to, you're supposed to say this prayer. It's like a very holy prayer, and there's tens of thousands of books written about it. But in it, there's a line: "Put it on your heart, al levavecha, on your heart." So someone once told me, "Why on your heart? Shouldn't it be in your heart?" And the answer is sometimes your heart's not open to hearing. So what you do is you just gather the information and put it in there.
Yeah.
And suddenly when your heart opens, it will all fall in. Right? So you put stuff. So when you're listening, when you're trying to help yourself, listen. And you might be humble enough to be like, that might not apply to me now, but hold on to it. Don't just dismiss things. Put it on your heart.
Yeah.
Right? And then suddenly one day it will click and your heart will open. And you'll have the tools. You'll have the ability to rise. Yeah. But you need to put it on your heart.
Yeah. So is the line to put it on your heart?
Yeah.
Or is
put the words on your heart?
Okay. And this is the words from this specific prayer.
Correct.
Okay, I'm so curious what this prayer is. Is it super long or is it?
So it's good question. So it's about maybe I'm gonna guess about 100 words or so.
Okay.
But the main words. The words that every sort of Jewish kid knows is Shema, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 6 words, right? Hear, O Israel, God is your God and God is one, right? And sorry, so it's just one thought from here, It's a prayer that every. My voice is not that good, but it goes Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
I've been to bar mitzvahs.
Okay, so that's you would have heard that. Okay?
Kind of rings a bell.
Right. So if you would have heard bar mitzvah, you would definitely heard them praying it. Okay, so it's like, what does it mean? God is one. Now, this is one of my favorite teachings. God is one, the number one. But it should have said God is the only one. It doesn't say the only one. It says God is one. Because there's a 2 and there's a 3 and there's a 4. What does that actually mean? It means from an outside-in perspective, it's nice that there's a God, very good. But I live a big life with so many. My life's not all centered. I'm not one. I'm not always in that space. Right. In reality, I get angry. My car breaks down. I get into an argument with my wife. Whatever, exactly, etc. The idea is underneath it all is number one. It's one underneath the 2 and the 3 and the 4. So it's not the only one. You can't live in a space where you're disconnected from reality.
Right. We need to function here.
Exactly. You need to be involved in a billion different directions life takes you. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is recognizing God is one. And also we have this multi-dimensional experience where there's me and there's a you. And at one level, that's real, and it has to be real.
It's 100% real.
Right. Yeah. But it's not just you and me. It's also the one speaking to itself, we could say.
Exactly.
And that's, for me, that's part of the beauty that we can access, which is getting out of this sort of unidimensional experience of saying, I'm just Ben the human, or Rabbi Wilhelm the human, and also recognizing that we're simultaneously 2 faces of the one. And it's interesting. It's like a perception shift. When I can recognize that we're 2 faces of the one, things feel different. Yeah. Things feel very different. And that's that's what I want to teach too. And that's what you teach. And me being a therapist, I see it as a limited pursuit because it's all happening predominantly in the psychological paradigm where things that seem very deep, spiritual, that have that ability to affect perception in that dramatic way, they don't fit the psychological paradigm. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I think they can, but it's difficult in a certain sense because I think there's certain expectations about what therapy is and what it is not. And I think Carl Jung said that the real healers of the future will not be psychological, but it'll need to lean into the spiritual. Because that's what we're working with. Is I see it, there's so many problems with the world at a big level and problems internally with us individuals. They're spiritual problems. And there's notions going around, especially in New Age circles, where there's a spiritual war going on right now. And I'm curious if you can speak to that, having witnessed the mental health crisis, addiction crisis.
Yeah. So I would say if there's one idea based on what we were talking about from Kabbalah, in Judaism, that I have to remind myself every day, all day. Okay, it's that everything that happened in my life is not dirt, really. Okay. And, you know, the reason that people are so upset is because they're disappointed at themselves, the choices they made, the choices other people made for them, the if only, the fights between families over money, you know, everything we deal with, right? It's how can I say this? It's hard for me as well, right? But to always remember this, to have the humility to realize your problems are not like they're not your problems. It's there for you. It's part of something greater, you know. So everything that happened to you, including the choices that you made, which comes with shame and depression and anger, and all, no problem. That too is not dirt.
Yes.
That too is exactly. And so what can I say? The whole reason that people are so we pursued materialism, and it didn't bring us joy. That everybody knows,
right?
Okay,
Eventually, right?
and but I'm saying everybody knows it's well known now.
Yeah.
Versus in the 60s and 70s when everybody went nuts, like all the hippies started.
Right.
The parents were like, "What's going on? We gave you everything," you know, like, and they went crazy, and the world saw them as like, "You guys are nuts." And meanwhile, it was the greatest gift. They broke ranks with the norm. They broke ranks and said, no, there's something beyond.
Yeah.
Right? There's something, we're searching. Okay? The world of searchers began.
Yeah.
All right? And everybody's searching. Everybody is searching for purpose and meaning. And, you know, like, I watch college kids graduate and they have their dream job. And a year later, like, I'm talking about the dream job, $150,000 a year. You know, they don't have to work hard. You know, that job that like they worked hard in college and they got like, and they're depressed and they're like, they don't find meaning, they don't find purpose, they're doubting themselves. They question every move they made. Maybe believe that the reason you got the job was to say good morning to somebody in the office. Maybe the reason you were put in that direction was something to live a little bit beyond yourself. And I think it's a word that people don't love talking about because in the therapy world, it's become such a dangerous world with boundaries. I have to protect myself.
Right.
Don't tell me. You know, we live in a world like where we don't abuse me. You know, everybody. That's the worst thing everybody can be afraid of. I get it, and I understand where that comes from. And trust me, I get it. I really do from personal experience. On the other hand, a little sacrifice. Sacrifice meaning a little bit live not for yourself. Yes. A little bit live be like. Okay, you know,
you're getting me going. Now you're talking my language,
right? So a little bit live like So a guy pissed you off. I get it, but you have an opportunity to deal with that guy, and maybe if you're nice to whatever. I'm using that as an example. Don't get hurt. Don't yell. Don't scream by every offensive thing in the world, and you know, it's okay.
Yeah,
you know, there's opportunity everywhere. See the light.
Yeah,
see the sacrifice. And I know I can get in a lot of trouble by saying this because are you telling me that anybody can stamp on me and tread on me? I know.
Fucking say it.
I know. And I know it's uncomfortable. There's a healthy, don't take it to an extreme. Yeah. Are you with me a little? As a therapist, are you with me?
I am with you.
So spirituality, real spirituality should give us opportunity to, yes, go to a therapist. Yes, understand why I feel a certain way. Yes, understand who's abusing me.
Right.
And yes, get it. And work with that. And then get to a space where you don't feel abused anymore.
Totally.
You know?
And you said so much juicy, potent stuff right there. And I want to go in on a little bit of it. So this reflection, this really perception shift where there's only the one, the inside out perspective where it's all a face of God, everything, every person, every interaction, every word, everything I experience, another face of God. And when I can view reality, my experience like that, my relationship to it shifts. From one of, for instance, this example of this dude is pissing me off. Close off to him, fuck this dude, should I punch him in the face? I don't know. To one of like, oh wait, if this is God, again, what is God trying to tell me here? Dramatic shift. And it reminds me of I believe it was a Viktor Frankl quote actually, where he said something along the lines of, one of the last rights you can never take away from a man is their ability to interpret a certain experience in really the way that they choose.
Right.
And we can interpret that dude being a dick to me as just some asshole. Yeah, that's one dimension of experience. For sure, let's honor that. But there's other dimensions we can access that are equally valid, where this is God trying to teach you something, maybe more patience with yourself, maybe the ability to turn the other cheek, maybe what kindness looks like. It's trying to help you level up. God tests is strong. So what happens when we shift our perception that way and we can start to relate with openness to things from the Buddhist concept or from the Buddhist context, we could say that actually suffering, which is a hot word in Buddhism, is actually dependent on your relationship to experience. Where if I resist, if I push away pain, suffering, confusion, whatever it is, lack, if I push that away, the more that I push, the more that I say this is not acceptable in my experience, the more I'm actually constructing more suffering for myself on top of the pain, which is in this example, this dude's being a dick to me. So again, when I can see everything as God, I can start to welcome it. And instead of resist, I can start to open to it.
Absolutely.
And then that suffering decreases, which is like, it's so counterintuitive to the normal average mind. Yeah. Like, how am I going to accept this dude being a dick to me? Why would I do that? That's not the move. How am I going to accept?
People are so scared to swallow pain. It's like, it's a pill.
Yes.
And you can put it into your mouth and you can swallow it and it hurts, you know, like bad.
Right.
But then it's, you know, or you could just spit it out.
Yeah.
And ego stops people to wanting to experience. So when someone calls them out on something and there's an ounce of truth to it,
yeah,
the wall will go up, spit it out. You're a bad guy. Get out of my life. I don't want to talk to you ever again. Goodbye.
Totally.
Look, I heard a teaching once in Judaism, right? From an old teaching from 800 years ago, you know, from a Kabbalist. It said that, and whether people want to believe it or not, just they should listen to the concept, okay? Is that before our soul comes down and we're born, we handpick our wife, our kids, our friends. We get to pick them because those are exactly the people we need. Our soul needs to grow.
Whoa.
You know?
So the goal is actually growth.
Exactly.
It's not to be pleasant all the time. It's actually growth.
One of the greatest questions in so Kabbalah, I'm just going to do this quickly because I was going for those who are still waiting to hear. Yeah. So the Torah is written 3,300 years ago. There's a Kabbalistic text about 300 years ago, right? A person I'm actually named after called the Baal Shem Tov, lives in Ukraine, right? Very famous, transforms Judaism. Says it's time for all Jews to study the spiritual part of Judaism. Till that point, till 300 years ago, thousands of years, it was a very select group. It wasn't considered the average man's person. And so he founded the Hasidic movement, all right? So the Hasidic movement is now nothing's black and white. It's different versions and styles. I'm a Chabad rabbi, so I'm the Chabad twist of Hasidic Judaism, right? And on practice, it's all the same. I would say, like, in other words, in terms of like, do I have a mezuzah on my door? You know, do I say the prayer in the morning? Yeah. But in terms of the spirituality, it gives you the twist of living this, what we're discussing, you know, bringing the inside out version to the whole life. Yeah. Okay. So now that we got that covered, all right. So the idea that people are put into our lives just to trigger us, because the greatest question that's asked, and I can't tell you how many times it's asked. It's asked so many times. If you open the text, why on earth does God bring a soul down here? Why does a soul? What's the purpose of a soul coming down here? It is so happy, and it's so it's before it comes here, it's in its perfect bliss. And we just come to God's having fun, just torturing us, just like literally. Like what is this? Just a mean game to bring a soul to this earth and suffer and pain. And there's a lot of pain.
That's part of the growth, right?
And so there's many answers, but one of the core answers, absolutely. The purpose is because the soul doesn't want to come down here. Right? A 2,000-year-old teaching in Judaism. A soul doesn't want to come down here, but once it comes down, it doesn't want to leave. It has no interest.
We cling to wherever we're at, right?
Exactly.
So does the human mind. We cling to depression, even though it sucks. It's familiar. You know what I mean? We cling to partners that are abusive to us, of course, because they're familiar. And it's so interesting that we identify.
So you say, of course, it's growth.
Yeah.
And every opportunity, every fall, every time you screw up, every time you mess up, every time you yell at someone that you promise, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm never going to behave that way again. And you did it again. Now you feel like, okay, have 10 seconds of shame. Okay, good.
Right.
Now let it push you and then move on.
So this is something that I've been playing with for a while. This kind of belief where life, it's like this arena that's showing us all of these things that we have yet to let go of, where the things that hurt the most, the trauma in my past, the fear about the future, those are the things that we cannot accept, that we cannot let go of. And when we can't let go of them, they can't let go of us. And I've seen this in meditation retreats because, again, I'm most versed in Buddhism. So these week-long silent retreats, I'm meditating, staring at a wall for 8 hours a day.
Right.
Eventually, I've noticed this is how it goes because I've done like a dozen of them at this point. Everything I can come to terms with about myself, my life, my death, the world, everything I can accept. It comes, it plays its a little story in my mind, and then it goes. And eventually, the only things that I'm left with, day 5, 6, 7 of these retreats, is all the stuff I cannot accept about the trauma in my past, the fear of death, the not knowing, the what do I do with my life, all of those things that I cannot accept. That's what lingers in the psyche. And it's so interesting. It seems like life is this pressure cooker that is showing you over and over again all of these things that we cannot accept until we can let them go. And then interestingly, they let go of us. And we're in a much more clear, luminous place, actually. And it seems so profound that so much of the work I do as a therapist, and I'm sure so much of the work you do as a rabbi, is circling around how do we help people let go into something beyond. Let go of the little things, let go of the trauma, recognize for me, and this is a very hot topic, especially in psychotherapy, trauma is a co-creation. It doesn't just happen. And that's the thing. There are some tragic, horrendous things that happen to people, but we have a choice. We always have and we always will. In the meaning that we make out of that, where is God testing me? Is God making me stronger? And what's the impact of that story where now I'm stronger so that I can serve the people that I love because I had to face that darkness. That's a certain story.
And that's sacrifice. That is sacrifice. So sacrifice is when something traumatic happened to you, you feel horrible and it hurts. And instead of doing the boundary thing, I can't talk to anybody, I can't deal with anybody, I'm doing the sacrifice thing. I'm going to experience that emotion and share it with others to inspire others. It's and it's the most. Look, all of us. You can. What's the most inspiring speaker you can bring? College kids. Anybody who wasn't. Anybody. College. Anybody who struggled, suffered, came out, and now is ready to share their journey, right? And came out the other side, right? Whoever. You could be any religion. You could be an atheist. It makes no difference. If you're somebody who went through it. And you're now using that to go on the other side.
Yes.
That's sacrifice. And that's what we all can do with everything we have. And we're all God's messengers in Judaism, right? Well, God's messengers to continue to help others. And just with a full ability. You know, and that's really it. That's all we got at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And those are the people that are most inspiring. And that's what I can go on about this for a long time because
I would love to, and I think that we might have to
because we live in a very self-centered generation. And
totally.
and I don't want to talk too much about this.
Yeah.
But one of the reason that politics is so dangerous, right, is because it's a lack of responsibility and it's a lack of sacrifice. In other words, basically it's saying I voted, I put my ching, I did my little, ballot, and now that it's their problem.
Yeah.
We each have responsibility to live up to the standards that are expected from us or that we set ourselves, whatever. If you're Jewish, do it, whatever it is, right? And each their own. And we have to take the responsibility and realize that's how we can make the world better. That's how we can unite people, and most importantly, bring meaning. Because
you're killing it right now, my man. This is not your first rodeo. I love it.
No, I'm killed. If you have seen this,
Yeah.
I work with beautiful, amazing young people, and and who are having a great life. They're blessed beyond anything, most of them, and yet why they hurt? What because you need to live spiritual, deeper, more purposeful, meaniful life with a little sacrifice.
Or a lot of
Or a lot.
sacrifice.
I was we got too much trouble.
Yeah. Well, I just said this in my one of the podcasts I just recorded before this, but I always say when you give, when you smile at somebody, when you hold the door, when you help somebody move, you feel pretty good. So that's when you give a little bit. I'm always like, how do you think it feels to give everything? Pretty damn good. And that's what we miss when we're in this self-centered trap, this egoic illusion, which is a trap that we make in our minds. When we're trapped in that, it's all about me, me, me. And all of a sudden, there's no meaning, there's no sacrifice, it's just sense pleasure, hedonism, and it's very shallow and lifeless. Correct. And then when I started to give, recognize it's not about me. What I'm preaching on social media, this podcast is a gift, and that's where I'm coming from. When I give that, dude, my life is dripping in meaning. It's bigger than me. It's not about this little thing that, again, we get trapped in this illusion of ego. And it's interesting, the more I act in service to me, the more I seem to strengthen that illusion. When I act in service to others, it just starts to fade. Yeah. And the problems of the self become just less relevant. And I'm
So there's a very famous discussion. I think there's a Friends episode. If you can you ever do somebody? Is a sacrifice even possible? Selflessness. Can you really? So everything are self-centered people. So everything we do essentially for our own ego. And can it ever? True. Most of the times you can, but then there's that moment, and it doesn't come often, where suddenly there's absolutely nothing in it for you. Yeah. Nothing. Not even a feel good. And your therapist is like, "Oh, don't do that." Because you're gonna feel oh my God, and spirituality says, oh, that's your chance, that's your chance. It's gonna suck, but you know what? Someone else's life is gonna be blessed, or another animals. I don't care what it is. What I say, the world's gonna become a better place. Yes, it rarely happens, but when we get that moment, let's just go for it. See what happens, Exactly. See what happens. And Judaism, so you asked what Judaism is, right? Judaism is about the deeds, about the action. It's about, in Judaism, we call it a mitzvah. Okay?
That means action.
A mitzvah means like a commandment, like God's commandment, like a good deed. So but it's like, because you spoke about like giving, it's all about giving. It's all about giving, right? Like, totally.
And not just at Christmas, because people are like, giving is better than receiving. Yeah, we all know that. I mean, some people say that at Christmas. Some people love to receive, but I'm like, it feels so much better to give. Like, intimately, like lovemaking, you can just pay attention and see how good does it feel to make somebody else feel really good. Correct. Really damn good for you. And this is where, for me, in a certain depth of selflessness, you recognize the lines between selfish and selfless start to blur. Because what feels best for this being here is actually to be of service in huge ways.
Right, so actually, love in Hebrew is ahava, and hava comes from the word hav, which means to give. So there's love and there's lust. Yeah. Lust takes. Yeah. Right. Whoa. And we all get. If I ask people, why get married? What do you mean? I need this. I need that. They give me a freaking long list of everything take. Exactly. We live in a take society, versus a love society is 100% giving. No. I'm not giving my, I'm a guy, so I'm not like babysitting the kids on Saturday nights so I can watch football Sunday. No, that's not giving. That's taking. Right? That's 50-50.
Right. That's a compromise.
That's compromise. It's great. Giving means there's nothing in it for me. I'm giving because that's what I live for. An opportunity to live for. Look, is it easy? I'm making it sound like it's all one big easy. No, come on, let's be honest. It's hard, but that's the challenge. Yeah. That's why in Judaism, that's why I need to study these every day. I need to live this, because otherwise I'll just go straight back to my default setting. Yeah. I'm a giving. Give me more, and that's it. End of story. And it's whether it's giving charity or giving whatever. Like once in a while you hear of, let's say, not once in a while, all the time, you hear somebody passing away, a tragedy happening, and he's like, what can I do? What can I do? And then they wait, what can I do? And nobody calls them. You know why? Because, I don't know, because you expect the person to call you. Or, what are you going to do? Just, you have money? Just go drop it off. I mean, it's not complicated. Go find something to do. Have a little sacrifice. Go do. Action. Get it done. And, it's...
Where my mind goes, my mind just naturally goes to extrapolating things. So if we could break again this spell of the ego and the take, me, and I will say that's like a disease. I don't mean that in a hyperbole. I mean literally. It's like a disease of the mind that takes us nowhere but to hellish existences of never enough. The Buddhists say the hungry ghost realm, where these beings, they have empty, huge stomachs, but mouths the size of pinholes, and they can never get enough. That seems like that marks the age of our times in a sense. What could happen globally if the people with power, the people with money, the average human being knew the power of giving? And I mean not conceptually. Not giving feels better than receiving at Christmas, but you felt it, you knew it in your bones. You knew that if I wanted to live in love, if I wanted to inhabit something adjacent or identical, who knows, to Christ consciousness, it's about giving everything. And those moments that you talk about where there's nothing in it for you. What came to my mind is the crucifixion. What was in it for him? And then I think about these examples of human beings in combat. Jumping on the grenade. 2 seconds.
Nothing in there for
you
them.
See a grenade, you're around all your boys, whatever, you jump on the grenade.
Yeah, I mean, there was just, a couple weeks ago, was a shooting in Sydney, in the Hanukkah party. So there was this one guy, his name is Reuven Morrison, and he's, Ukrainian Jew, moved to Australia. And there were a bunch of people, like 25 people, sitting in line down and saying their final prayers because a gunman was coming towards them. So he just realized, I'm gonna go fight this guy. Picked up some bricks, and you can see the videos.
What?
Literally,
I haven't heard about this.
Starts throwing it, and he gets gunned down, dies. Everybody else is alive.
Let's go.
Everybody else is alive.
That's how you want to go out.
Exactly.
That's how you end up in Valhalla.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. You see, and it's like, but okay. So that again, extreme example, right?
Beautiful example.
Beautiful example. But when I say extreme is, we're not going to be in shootings all the time, and not right. We're going to be, but we have opportunities where there's someone shooting at us, emotionally. Somebody shooting at a group of people, or whatever it is, or my business, and my work. And take one for the team. Stand up. It will hurt, of course. Everybody not really loves. Everybody likes the people who do nothing, because they do nothing. So of course, anybody who does anything good, is going to be hated. It's a fact. You could be a rabbi. You could be, I don't care who you are. You could be a Buddhist monk. If you are changing the world, you're going to have enemies.
It's trippy.
And therefore what? So it took me a long time when my ego is still in play, still hurts, but it took me a long time I was hurt. I was like, what? Why? I got so offended. So I took it home with me. I was like, it was hard for me when people started hating. I want to be loved by everybody. I'm doing God's work. Just ego.
Yeah.
You want to be loved. What?
Yeah.
And if you're not loved by everybody, but you've done the right thing and you've helped people and you've changed people's lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody, name me a person who's listening to this podcast or in the world who's actually done something good and knows and is not being hated for it. That's part of the experience that's put in front of us to see, is it ego or is it not? And if it's ego, it's not going to work. And that's and that's what it's all about. It's giving.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that we could synonymous with Hasidic Judaism. Okay. The way I live life is being happy. You have to be happy.
I love that. That's a religion I can get behind.
People, I've taken, students, so Jewish students who've never seen communities, of Orthodox or Hasidic Jews, and they walk in there, and that's always the first thing. Everybody's so happy. Like, is somebody on drugs or something? What's going on? No one's on drugs. No one's doing anything. But what is the core of it all? If you're giving, if everybody's looking out for each other, of course, every society has its flaws, and no community is perfect, and no organized religion is perfect. It's how it's going to be. At the core of it, walk down the street. Are people joyful? Are people happy? People dancing? Literally, just middle of the day, just like happy. Of course, because when you're living a life for others, then your godly soul is in control. Yeah. It's talking. The inside out version of you is going, and then you're bliss.
Totally, totally. And what came up when you're talking about like living for something beyond yourself. So that's that expanded frame of consciousness where it seems like, again, like something else takes the wheel. When it's not all about me, when I, in the egoic sense, step out of the way, who's running this thing right now? The one, right?
Exactly.
And the one takes care of the one, you know? And I think it's so beautiful to just, I mean, I don't have experience, I guess, with Orthodox Jewish communities, but it's inspiring. And I will say, when I was a kid, I did not grow up with any religious community. And it felt, in hindsight, like isolating. And to have a community where people are generous and giving, and not just in the sense of giving to receive later, giving because they know the intrinsic beauty, happiness that it invokes. And Buddhism says the same thing, where it's like, just recognize generosity, not because you have to be generous, but recognize what it does to the being. You feel better. You feel better. Again, when you give a little bit, it feels good. When you give a lot, it feels so much better.
Yeah, I'll tell you is that charity in Hebrew is called tzedakah.
Tzedakah.
So, and actually it's a mistranslation because charity means I'm rich and I'm doing a charitable act. I'm giving you. In Judaism, it's tzedakah. Tzedakah means it's just. It's the correct. It's the right thing to do. It's not your money. It was given to you. And the right thing to do is to give it to somebody else. You're not doing anybody a favor. Yeah. You're doing what's expected. It's an expectation. And yeah, it sounds like, oh, of course you get honor and, you know, but look, I have a friend. I can talk about many different stories, but I have a friend who, very successful, made a lot of money very well. And every time I go visit him, it's the most unbelievable thing. I come to his house and there's poor people just outside his house, just knocking on his door. And I'm like, you don't have to write a letter. You don't have to get an appointment. What about you have a wife, you have kids. If someone needs money, let them come to me, please. I want to help them. It's as simple as that. Like, there's no gates around the house. It's a very nice house. No gates.
Wow.
Anybody can come, ring the bell. Nobody gets turned down. Imagine we got rid of I'm not trying to put it down but we got rid of the having to beg for charity money, versus
like alms.
Yeah. Versus there's a rich guy and there's a poor guy and they meet each other. Yeah. And what can I do to help you?
Literally.
Do you need a loan?
It seems like it reminds me of something in the Tao Te Ching, which is like, what is a bad man but a good man's student, and what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? So we get given these roles again by something beyond us, is what it seems. We just enter into these roles. Some people have a ton of money, some people have none. In a sense, it's still that one though.
Exactly.
So there seems to be this natural osmosis between just privilege, financial abundance, where it's like, if you have it, you get the beautiful privilege and opportunity to give and to taste the joy of that generosity. And then the people who are receiving, they get to taste the beauty and of getting something that they need
without shame.
It's like a win-win, and we've cut ourselves off from that win-win. And all of a sudden, it seems like when we cut ourselves off from that, it's like, again, it reminds me of Taoism. We've forgotten the organic flow of creation. It's just natural when I'm not stuck in this hedonic spell of ego where it's all about me. And guess what? I got 1 billion, but I need 10 billion just for me. What? Are you sure?
I once met a donor, a very successful guy, and he gives $100 million to charity. Okay. Way more than he gets 50% of his annual income. I mean, he's just giving it, so I went to meet him. He's from New York and he gave my organization a lot of money. So I went with a bunch of thank you letters from the students, and he was skiing in Vail. So I met him up. I met up with him, and he knew who I am. I came up to him, and I said, his name is George. I was like, George, I would like to say thank you, and he said, please don't use that word. He said, we're partners. I can't do what you do. You can't do what I do. Let's shake on it. That makes me very uncomfortable.
Cool.
And I'm like, wow, that's a guy who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, giving half of it a year to charity. Okay. Whatever, no matter what. And doesn't want to thank you because that would make him very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're each given our role. He's there to make the money. I'm there to work with the students. I'm happy to support you. And, we're partners. That's what you call it. We're partners. And that's another deep teaching in Judaism is that we are all partners in God's creation. Yeah. So to be a partner with God is pretty cool. Hey, who's your business partner? Oh, my business partner? That's God. Yeah. That's coming. And obviously that takes a lot of expectation because now I got to live a higher standard. True.
You have duty.
Duty. True. But meaning is God trusted me. I want to look at it differently. Empowering. Trusted me with my little business, my little talent, with my little thing that I have, my whatever, my little challenge to change this world and to be a partner in this creation and to make this world, a garden, making it beautiful, to reveal the inside out, right? To reveal the inside. Yeah. I mean, what a gift. What a gift that we're given. So yeah, there's a guy here who lives in North Boulder. He has a store. I'm not going to say it, just, and great guy, little guy. He's, works hard every day, opens the store himself. Every time I walk in there, there's a homeless guy in there. There's a cat in there. There's someone in there he's feeding. He's giving them. He just sees his store as a conduit, literally as a conduit to give, to make this world a better place. In his little corner in North Boulder, he's spreading the love. Now, if everybody would do that, the store next to him and every store would do that, in this town and every town, a little bit of that, right? The end. Right. The end. World peace. The end.
Heaven on earth.
Heaven on earth.
It seems like heaven on earth is the natural state of things when we're not caught in these traps. When we're not caught in these spells, this hypnosis. And it's like, if only we could recognize, again, the power of giving. And you spoke to something interesting, which is like when you're really being good of service, it seems like, and I use this term metaphorically and literally, it seems like the demons in people come out. And again, people are going to point the finger at you and find something wrong with you, which is so interesting to me. And you talked about how the ego then can be like, well, I'm doing, I'm making this world a better place. Why are people pointing the finger at me? And again, that's another interesting thing to let go of. And it reminds me of this quote in Hinduism, actually. I think it's from the Bhagavad Gita, which is, and I've lived by this quote for a while, that we are entitled to our actions, but we're not entitled to the fruits of those actions. Correct. So I can be good, I can be of service, but if I think that's going to make people like me, or I'm going to be a good person and whatever, I'm going to be a saint now, we're setting ourselves up for failure and actually disappointment. It's action with the expectation of nothing. I'm doing this podcast. If people like it, great. If people don't like it, I'm doing it regardless. Exactly. I'm doing it regardless.
So there's a great teaching. The Mishnah. There's the Torah, the Bible, and then there's the Mishnah. It's like the next big teaching in Judaism, written 2,000 years ago. And over there it says, it's not your job to finish the work, but you're not free to escape from the work. So the results is not yours. It's just not your job. Your job is to do. The results is way beyond you. But don't think that frees you. Full responsibility. You still got to do the work.
Still got to do the work.
And it's about ego. We're gonna have this conversation over, right? Ego stands for edging God out. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. So it's about me. And listen, I'm an ego. I'm full of ego.
Everyone's got ego.
Better have ego.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Otherwise you're not human.
Exactly.
But the question is, can we work around it?
Yeah.
And to me, that's exactly why every great person who really gives, and if there's somebody listening to this and is like, why does my father hate me, my mother, my brother, my sister, my friend, my work? All I've done is done a good act. Why don't they trust me that I meant well and I did well? It's just a little test to see, is it about you or is it about the mission?
Damn.
And if it's about you, it's going to hurt.
Damn.
But if it's about the mission, you got it done.
Dude.
You gave the homeless guy a bar of chocolate, and then someone yelled at you, "Oh my God, you're, I don't know, whatever." Let it go. That's good. You heard. Let it go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm using the very small example, but there's a lot more painful ones.
But it's huge, and people get caught up in this formation of trauma, all centered around what? The ego. It's the ego's trauma. It's the ego's trauma. And it's so interesting in this culture that we're living in nowadays, especially at the grad school that I went to. I went to Naropa.
Yeah.
And it's there's certain narratives that are operating where it's all me, all my trauma, and things get very locked up and tight because all me, and the world fucked me, and oh my God, now what? And it's like, what if it wasn't about you? What if this is a test to break you down and actually break you open, to just give you a glimpse, hopefully it lasts, of God? Then what? Then we can see this trauma, the gift in that pain, where I look at my dark night of the soul type experience and I say, thank you so much. I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you so much. And when I was in it, I was like, should I kill myself or not? Like, what's the situation here? And then it's like, from the coming out of that and looking back, I'm like, what a blessing that was to break me down. Compost this ego.
I heard a story about it. A friend of mine told me he was walking down the street and he met a guy who, who's like so happy, and he was watching him dealing with his wife, talking to his wife, and he's like, wow, like, I got to learn from this guy. So humble and just listening and present and everything. So he said, walked up to him and said, how do you become such a good husband? So the guy said, nah, you don't want to know. And he says, no, seriously, I would love to learn. He goes, no, you're not. And then finally he says, okay, you want to hear? I'll tell you. Do what I did. Get married. Be a jerk. Cheat. Be self-centered. Get divorced. Lose your pants. Go to court. Lose everything. Then get on drugs. Go to rehab. Learn the hard way. And then you'll become me.
Wow.
Or you could just become me right away.
Yeah.
In other words, at the end of the day, it's never going to work. The ego thing, we know it's never going to work. I watch people fighting and screaming and yelling, and everybody's right. At the end of the day, it's never bringing you to heaven.
The successes of the ego.
Yeah,
it's
going to take you down, and that's just the reality. It's going to, yeah.
It reminds me of this quote. I hope I get it right. It's a poet. I think might be Rilke. I forget. But it's like, when we win, the triumph itself makes us small. And it's when he's saying we, it's the ego. When the ego triumphs, the triumph itself makes us small. Little ego wins. When it's actually in those losses, those tragedies that break you open to something beyond yourself, where you get a glimpse of something that you can never give words to. Something so profound and so deep that it changes you permanently. It changed me permanently. And again, I look back on that darkness and I say, thank you. I see that as angels. And again, it's so interesting, the distinction between the demons and the angels, whatever that means, in the mind or in reality, it seems like all of them are acting in service of what? The one. It's so
it's not
beautiful.
So it's not, going back to where we started. It's not that the diamond ring is the inside and the dirt is outside. Actually, on a deeper level, the dirt itself is the ring. You're okay. And I know it takes time to it's not easy, but on a deeper level, God is everything, including the dirt. And everything that you went through and every mistake that you made and whatever it is there to guide you to exactly where you need to be, into that oneness. And that's it takes work, it takes effort, but that's the best work.
Yeah.
Swallow the pain pill.
Yeah.
Because that's how you'll grow.
And you really don't have a choice, actually. Like, there's no way around the pain. The pain is coming.
Sometimes you think there's a way out, right?
It's addiction, right?
Right.
Alcohol works pretty decently, but for how long?
Right.
The porn addiction, the work addiction, but for how long?
For how long?
Right.
The ego addiction, I would say.
Yeah. Well said. Exactly.
Whatever it is. Yeah, people, of course. But then it comes a point. And I think you can agree with me with this one. You can meet a let's say a 50-year-old guy, any 50-year-old woman, whatever, a 50-year-old person, within about 60 seconds of speaking to them, you'll know, are they living a little inside out or outside in?
Whoa.
You know?
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
are they angry at the world? Are they right away quoting politicians? Are they right away quoting all the problems they have in life? Right away. Like,
Wow.
what's the first conversation you're having with them?
Hmm.
And we need to live it inside. And who's happier?
Yeah,
right? Who's
exactly.
who's joyful? Who's smiling? Who's
Right.
who's seeing the world as a beautiful
Dude,
place?
that's what I've always said with spirituality and spiritual traditions is like less about like what conceptually makes sense. What is the fruit of this path?
Correct.
And if you're not happy, if you're not kind, if you're not deeply connected, like dripping in beautiful qualities of the heart and mind, who cares? Like, who cares if you're right or wrong? It doesn't matter to me. I want to see the fruit of the path. And so, Rabbi Wilhelm, it's been so, like, honestly, such a pleasure to talk with you.
Amazing. What a great guy you are. Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, likewise.
It's just
you're an
great to
incredible
meet a
person.
young person who's passionate, who's without putting too much ego in you.
Oh,
but just
yeah. Right.
but one of the strongest teachings in Hasidic Judaism is know your strength,
Yeah.
not just your weaknesses. Know your strength.
Absolutely.
So you have a strength. You're good at
Thank
what you
you.
do. Keep doing it because you're a partner
Thank you.
with God.
Yeah, likewise. Well, so is Yuda, the producer in the studio right
Absolutely.
now. He's also a legend like that, just spreading light on social media. Just your character is beautiful. We're all doing
I could not
this
agree
work,
more with that one.
Right?
100%.
Right?
Big
So-
blessing.
So yeah, what a blessing to have this conversation with you, with Yuda in the studio. Again, I've been feeling so blessed recently, and it's yeah, what a great inspiration to be more in service to creation. It's yeah, blessed lives we get to live.
Amen.
Yeah.
We end off with one word, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
To life.
To
Very
life.
good. Very
Amen.
good.
Amen. So wait, do you want to shout out anything that you're doing? Maybe I don't know, your community, anything
No,
like
I'm
that?
I'm a rabbi on college campus here for 20 years on CU right here
Mhm.
meeting, and I built for the Jewish community, trying to spread this exact message through giving them a lot of matzo ball soup and brisket.
Yeah. That's a good
as the
combination.
conduit,
Yeah,
just
right.
come in. But
Yeah.
once they come in to be able to live a life that's a little bit beyond themselves and to realize that we could be happy and joyful no matter what comes our way.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
It's beautiful to hear. It's beautiful to see. So,
Okay.
yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And
All right. Thank you.
yeah.